Reggie, what does the book of Philemon have to say about those who are just struggling with guilt or shame because of sin or whatever circumstances in their lives?
I think, Wes, that Paul has some really helpful things to say to people who are still crippled by the question of how much of the burden for their own sin they carry. Like, does God still look at them as guilty? And to people who feel intense shame, like they just feel undressed and embarrassed all the time. I think in the first place of the lovely thing that he does with Onesimus, where he sees this man with a new identity, with a name that he couldn't live up to, and now he is invited to see himself as a new person in Christ. He can go to Philemon and offer to make right whatever he can, precisely because he knows that God has made things right for him and that Christ paid a penalty for him. So he can go not as a guilty person who's wondering if the jury is out on him, but he can go as a redeemed, free person who bears no guilt. And he can be at the heart of who he is, unaffected by whether Philemon responds well or responds poorly, because he knows that the one judge who really counts has already brought in a verdict, and it's not guilty. And on the matter of shame, which I think is this sense of feeling just like embarrassed and undressed and dirty, and like everybody's looking at me, and I just, I'm just ugly, and I just can never be good enough. There too, the whole notion that Onesimus has been renamed and been given a value that is above and beyond anything that he could ever imagine for himself, and has been to go over to Colossians, the letter that was written about the same time. He has been clothed now with the righteousness of Christ, and God doesn't look at him in a way that would bring him shame. And another aspect of shame is just not feeling like you belong. You're just totally on your own. You're totally lonely. I mean, you're alone in that you feel like just everybody, sees all the ugly, but you don't feel like you belong anywhere. And the theology that's underlying this is that not only has Christ paid the penalty to take away your guilt, but he has made you a member of his family. You belong to him. He's your elder brother, and you got a place at his table if at nobody else's. Hopefully, Philemon's going to get it, and Philemon is going to make a wide, spacious place for him back in his house, and will welcome him and lavish love on him. But the fact is, because Onesimus has been made new, he's not ultimately dependent upon whether Philemon is going to get that or not. So I think for those of us who will take the time to go deep into this letter and sit before it and really consider its implications for who we are, new in Christ, and especially reading it alongside Colossians and Ephesians, there's a world of stuff to be said for those of us who tend to be crippled by feeling like we're still guilty, like there's still an angry judge up there that's just waiting to get us. And Philemon, Colossians, and Ephesians say, no, there's not. And that we are seen as being righteous in Christ, and therefore we can live positively and boldly. We can live out of grace and live out of gratitude and not guilt. And for those of us who are just, who I just feel like we're ugly, not just guilty, but ugly, twisted, and good for nothing. This letter, along with Colossians and Ephesians, tell us, oh no, not only has mercy been extended to us, but the welcome mat is there at the Father's place, at the Father's house. And He's given us His name. He's shared His inheritance with us. There's a place at His table for us.